group stage. But I really do believe in him and I want to root for him. He's one of the players that puts in the most work out of anyone and for the longest time. But let's see what happens and if he's able to bring it to this game. In the top right-hand side of the map, it is SortOf.
In the bottom left for team Raise Your Edge, he is PtitDrogo.
Small victory on the side of Drogo, already blocking that hatch first. So SortOf is going to be forced to take the third instead. It's always a minor. For me, it's a medium-sized annoyance. It's not even minor, to be honest. But pros seem pretty used to it.
Yeah, I understand why it's good and why it's also like I feel like it gives you a big mental edge. It's gonna be obnoxious for the Zerg player, right? But it is something that we're used to seeing. It kind of varies though between Protoss players how insistent they are about that hatch block. Mana seems to do it literally every single time. Other Protosses not as much.
Yeah, most definitely. And it also comes down to the length of the map and if the Zerg can get a hatchery early enough without cutting too much, right? Like 16 hatcheries are kind of the norm, but 15 isn't so bad. And I've seen as low as 14, though that's been kind of mostly abandoned at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Denver was like the last guy I've seen do the really early hatch, the 14 hatch, the you won't hatch block me hatch. And I always felt it was because that maybe he was a little more frustrated than some other Zergs when it came to dealing with it. But you're right. Usually they just take the other base, the third base, Pillars of Gold. That is the more usual one that SortOf is taken here. I guess the good news is that while SortOf did recently lose to Drogo, while SortOf was back in Europe, I mean, by this point, they've probably played a lot more games against each other on ladder than beforehand when SortOf was in Korea. So there might be a little more familiarity.
Yeah, the other thing that gives me a little bit of confidence on the side of SortOf is the fact that he has been training in Korea for so long and the adept style developed in Korea. Well, not for a long time. It's not the norm that the Korean meta will go into Europe. It's often that Europeans have a very strong sense of the meta for themselves. But the adept styles definitely originated in Korea. They were very solid in Korea and SortOf has been going up against them for longer than most of the other Europeans. So if Drogo goes for this adept style, I don't know. I want to see what SortOf brings.
Well, that is an excellent point, Katz. Like, I think that's a perfect summation because we are going to see some of the adept play, guaranteed, in this best of 5. It's frustrating though because even with the supposed perfect response, we still see less than perfect. Now, it was the Twilight Council first, with some guys taking off a probe. Actually, no, just the probe to build another gateway. So
yeah.
Oh no, it is the Resident Enclaves. Okay.
Alrighty, a recall on that adept to make sure that he would be ready, Drogo would be ready for these links, and they are not going to be able to accomplish much. I'm surprised that SortOf is actually committing here, but I guess he made a lot of links, so he's going to try to bust this through. He's actually making more, Jess. He's pretty all in on this. This is very uncharacteristic of SortOf. I mean, I like that he's mixing it in, but it's not looking too hot right now against Drogo. I think he wants a quick, easy win. I'm not so sure that he's going to be able to accomplish it. More links in production, no drones whatsoever.
And this is quite committed. It's not the first time we've seen someone try to ling all in against an adept player, someone they figured would go for adept, because the Resident Glizz actually kick in time to help, and you don't have a lot of production until, well, of course, the gateway's finished. So only a couple of adept warp-ins, but the buildings after building after building have worked out so far. No cancel there, but it's still a wall thanks to that Vespian Geyser. Shield Battery's going to be taken down next, and that's going to get a little complicated. Sentry being warped in, and it's going to be fast enough.
Yeah, not enough surface area on all of those buildings. SortOf trying to focus on the shield battery because if you target anything else, then the shield battery will heal it. But ideally, you want to be targeting all of the buildings at once. At the same time, you don't want to lose that DPS of links onto the shield battery, so he continues to click it. But you're right, once the sentry is out, it's kind of lights out for this attack, and now SortOf is trying to macro out of it. It's not going to be too easy.
I thought Drogo was going to go into a Dark Shrine version of this build just with all the probes still in gas. But even if he wasn't, well, he definitely is now. So he is going to be looking to take advantage of what he assumes is going to be a worse economy than usual, which possibly could mean that later lair. I mean, already we see a lot of scenarios without the early Ling attack where the Zerg player doesn't have a lair. They don't necessarily want a lair, but they also don't have spore crawlers. And that means absolutely zero detection. So SortOf Hopefully he's got that timing in his brain, and Overlord is coming through. It might see the Dark Shrine in time. In fact, I think it will. But it's still very annoying to deal with the DT harassment alongside the Adept harassment.
Absolutely, and it's so difficult to have the timings ready because it's such an odd game already. So like, you know, it's not a DT that's gonna hit at a normal timing. It's a DT that's delayed by all the buildings that Drogo has had to make. Regardless, SortOf will be ready. So good game sense in that regard. Making some roaches now, and you're absolutely right. I love the decision from Drogo to go for the DTs because the lair and the tech is definitely gonna be delayed. And even if this doesn't amount to a kill, it amounts to easy rain to take his own third and force out defenses, spores, etc.
Some Warp Prism micro is going to work out well for this. In fact, doesn't even need it. The Lings just could not combat all of the units there. Drogo being very aggressive, not just the Adepts, not just the DT, but on top of that, a Charge Lot 2-based attack. I mean, generally you're trying to cut the corners that you can against, you know, harassments that Adepts can provide, but they keep committing to the Adept Warp-ins, or in this case, they commit to more gateways and that charge. You better just be making a ton of roaches. SortOf, are you too late to the production?
No, I think he's exactly right to the production. I mean, if he's gonna stand a chance, he started producing when he stopped producing drones when he should have, right? He's only one drone ahead of Drogo. If he's actually able to shut this down, I think we can see a drone explosion and maybe sort of restabilize.
We'll see if he can do it. He's got the roaches without speed. They're getting hit by a lot of Archons, but so far so good. Just a sheer number of roaches seems to be doing the work here as the Warp Prism cannot continue to warp in. It's got to help ferry these Archons around. It wants to save at least 2 of them.
Wow.
It does save 2, so we can continue on with the Archon harassment, but he did dedicate to 8 gateways. I mean, that's still a very delayed third Nexus, delayed Forge, delayed Immortal production. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, but towards the tail end of that, I mean, SortOf is still producing units. I'm not sure that I'm the biggest fan of that. I would have loved to see that drone explosion that we were talking about. He's knocked out like 2 or 3 extra drones. If he's gonna make more units, I want to see him pile onto the aggression, but can you really break 8 gates? I'm not sure.
Well, the Warp Prism is not back home, and the recall would have to go down in the natural, which might still be the better alternative to just bringing it home. He's not going to do it, trying to save his units with a couple of force fields. Actually working out. Actually, you know what? He's totally fine. He is fine, as the roaches were all back home ready to defend the Warp Prism. And now Drogo can actually, funnily enough, now Drogo will get Warp Prism to the main base as soon as SortOf moves out.
Yeah, unfortunately for SortOf, and he does have roach speed, so that's what he was waiting for. But yeah, I mean, he has produced only units, and at this point, that's what you want to do. Otherwise, you would have wanted that wave of drones earlier, right? So you kind of just have to lean in on what you hope is going to translate to an army advantage. He's already moving with most of his army and only brought a few roaches back to shoo away those Archons. We'll see if it's enough. It's kind of all in here.
Drogo does see roaches still being produced, but I guess they could be misread as just, you know, having already been there. Or maybe just feels very confident once again on the units he has back at home. The shield overcharge is available, but it only lasts so long. It's corrosive bile. Guardian Shield will going to help out so much, because I assume some of these units start going down. Drogo now pulls back his Warp Prism. He warps in a couple of DTs to try and help out, but there is an Overseer. The Immortal from the left side actually might help save the day. There's no Lings to stop that from being microed. Yeah,
and now here is the Warp Prism as well to save that very low Archon. Drogo still has to be very careful, as one remaining Archon is very low on HP, and it looks as if SortOf is actually breaking through this.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Drogo stood his ground as long as he did. That forward, I guess he didn't anticipate more reinforcements coming in. The Lings, you know, as few as they were, they do soak up some very important shots, especially from the Immortal. And unfortunately, Drogo is going to have to let go of his Nexus, or maybe not. He's going to try and save it. It's very, very low, though, so Corrosive Bile is going to even be able to take it down.
Yeah, if you're SortOf, you definitely want to kill that Nexus. So right now, you just trade until you know you're taking inefficient trades, then turn around and kill that Nexus no matter what, I think is the call. But for now, I mean, you want to trade instead of killing the Nexus. The Nexus is a secondary objective. Really well done from SortOf here. And I'm loving this. I mean, now he's on 3 base. Let's see what the production tab shows. He's not stopping, actually. I'm not sure if I love that as much.
This is the exact type of army that you would go up against, especially in a choke and a natural, that would lose to Immortal Archon. So SortOf does have to be careful not to over-dedicate. It actually looks like Drogo is once again feeling confident. And I think in this case, it actually feels a little bit better. I was always a little bit nervous about that third. And I was like, well, you know, if Drogo thinks he can, all right. Well, he couldn't. When it comes to defending a natural, though, I mean, I give a lot of credit to Protoss defending 2 bases, you know? Like, PtitDrogo is right to send out the Warp Prism.
This is one of the hardest, most difficult thirds to defend on any map, right? It's just such a wide open third that Zerg really has a good time not dealing with a lot of buildings and a lot of obstructions moving forward. But yeah, you don't want to go up there. And now finally we see drones in production. I mean, that's the good old sort of that I know and love, and I hope that that's enough to carry him through victory in this first game. It's looking very strong.
Oh, actually, Drogo tried to move out. He thought maybe the army wasn't there, but instead he gets collapsed in on. All the Archons are dead, and the Immortals are just barely saved. Drogo was trying to make magic happen on the other side of the map, hoping to catch SortOf while he was droning, you know, really, really hardcore. But he didn't really. I mean, you know, you kept talking about how long SortOf was waiting to even drone, and he certainly had enough army back at home, although that Spore Crawl is in the wrong position to guard against the DT. Oh, barely dragged it back in. Surprisingly, this is still the same supply overall. Now, it just really is a question of like, well, does Drogo start taking such overwhelming defensive trades that he can move out and take a third? Because if he can never move out, I mean, eventually SortOf can explode in the economy, can just overwhelm him.
Yeah, SortOf has had a third for so much longer, but the worker count has actually been pretty even, which is the one concerning thing, is that SortOf really didn't take his openings to try and kind of win on the macro department, which is kind of odd because that's what he's best at. But this time around, he's switching it so much, and I'm not sure about this engagement out on the map either. He has to back away. The force field whiffs. Luckily for him, he needs a defense here. If he gets it, it might be enough. Drogo dropping a third behind it too.
Yeah, I mean, he took the fight before all of his roaches were actually in position, so it definitely looked better for Drogo at the start. A couple Corrosive Biles later, a couple reinforcements later, most of the big Archons, the Immortals, have gone down, but the Warp Prism barely still alive. It's not live anymore. I was waiting for that Corrosive Bile, and Drogo is finally going to tap out the Teeter-Totter, man. Like, I wasn't sure who was actually going to be able to win. So many dangerous situations for the Zerg to continue committing to roaches, but SortOf finally pulled through.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I mean, a really poor start for SortOf, right? With a Ling all-in that fails. He does get map control with it. He does delay the third, but like you said, his tech is so far delayed at that point in time. And Drogo, I loved his transition into Dark Templars, but SortOf, to the follow-up attack, he reacted as perfect as you could. I think he had one more drone than Drogo had probes. And I think that was perfect, right? He shut down the attack really convincingly. And behind that, the weird kind of decision for me was that he didn't drone up. He just went for the lean into it. And I mean, if I wasn't expecting it, maybe Drogo wasn't either.
Yeah, I guess not. I was honestly surprised that SortOf seemed so prepared. He had defense against the DTs, but more surprisingly, he also defended against an 8 gateway attack. Granted, it never really got to hit its potential, you know, all 8 gateways warping in. But the point is, he wasn't able to do so because he was so prepared. And I guess you think now, as Drogo, like, okay, what if I had just not committed so many extra gateways? What if I had just gone for a third Nexus? Probably would have been the better choice.
You're completely right. It's about that first wave, right? If you shut down the first wave in a good position, it's so difficult to get the 8 gates rolling. So it's a really momentum-based strategy. And by the time Drogo arrived, SortOf just had so many roaches because he had no tech or enough drones for anything else that it was just kind of perfect. So pulling back from that position, I mean, one thing that I love about this is something that I even mentioned on Twitter to SortOf, is I love that he's been mixing in the aggression. I don't think he's Bly level aggression quite yet, or even perhaps a laser, but it's surprising enough that I think it's the kind of thing that he really needed in his play, and he's finally incorporating. Yep,
the best players need to be able to do both macro and be aggressive, and even Cyril, as much as he is known as a macro player, has definitely been mixing it up. Aggressive build as well as weird builds. I saw you guys got to catch one of his 2-base Hydra builds yesterday.
Yeah, he said he was like 50-0 with it too, but it didn't look too hot.
Oh, wow. It definitely didn't look that way back at the first Home Story Cup, but I guess he's improved on it. All right, game number 2 here. In the top right, down 1, he is Drogo.
And in the bottom left-hand side, up 1 map, it is SortOf. Yeah, I think you brought it up earlier, indirectly perhaps with how players fluctuate all the time. and how difficult it is to stay on top, because you constantly have to reinvent yourself as well. I don't think it's just a mechanical thing. Mechanics come from practice, and practice. You want to be practicing the strategies that are relevant to the maps, to the meta, to the opponents that you're facing, and you have to keep updated, not just on what's going on, but keep your gameplay changing and updated. And it's so very easy, I think, in any discipline, to see the first person, the best, fall off rather quickly because everyone's looking at them. And when you have a winning formula, you don't usually change. And that's what's so amazing about Serral, is that he keeps constantly reinventing himself. And we'll see games like yesterday, like you were mentioning, where he'll drop this hatchery and it doesn't look so hot either. Like the hatchery game, the 2 games that he lost actually looked like kind of flaky strategies. And I think that's because they're not finished. They're not done. He's testing still. And he has the room to do so whilst still being quite possibly the best. It's quite amazing.
There's a reason he's in the upper brackets, already advancing his way to the finals. There is a reason. And these guys, the ones we're casting today, are all in the lower bracket, and they are just, they're hoping for a chance to face, probably Serral in those
Probably
finals.
Serral. Yes, probably. Indeed. And PtitDrogo came close last time. This time around, though, he's going to have to defeat SortOf first. And I love that first game from him. Let's see if he's able to do it this time around. No hatch block on the side of Drogo.
I feel like that hash block is also closely tied in with the Adept or Adept and DT shenanigans. And that's also another reason why I feel like those 2 things are mana builds in my mind. But otherwise, I feel like, it's not as popular. And Drogo was never the guy who would always go for the hash block in my mind again. Maybe he goes through phases, I'm not sure, but it's going to be a different opener entirely. So he's going to go into a Stargate. Maybe the map plays into this, or maybe just because he figures SortOf is going to be way too ready against the Adept stuff. But I'm feeling the macro game.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I would have liked to see, because actually maybe SortOf did drop that earlier hatchery, and this is a longer map, I think, right, Jess?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
By 2 seconds, so not too big. But yeah. I love that now, like the go-to.
59? 58?
39. So it's
sorry.
Death Or, Eternal Empire, and 39. Basically, the rest of them at 37, and then poor old Submarine at 33.
Jeez. 7 seconds is quite a bit. All right, so this Ling is gonna get in with speed. He will scout the Oracle.
All right.
That's nice. Not bad. SortOf is going to have an opportunity to get set up. And just be ready for that. Here come the Adepts that you've mentioned before. It's kind of a 1-2 punch, but they too will get spotted. And things look pretty decent for the Swedish player.
Everything looks decent for everyone, right? Drogo not committing to any more Adept warp-ins, only committing to that 1 extra gateway. Something that the Overlord might, want to reconfirm and think that it is. Well, it's still... He wants to see also what pops out of it. I think I just missed the Oracle, funnily enough.
I'm not sure if he saw it. Yeah, it would have been really close. And he's going to go Drogo, that is, for 3 Oracles. Whilst Ricard Bergman here SortOf is just droning up and making some sports to make sure he's safe. I wonder, I like punishing triple Oracle. I think there's a few ways to do it. I wonder if SortOf is going to go for it. He is a changed man. Before I would have been like, okay, like this just means macro for SortOf. But now I'm like,
Well, like 16 drones just made, so.
I guess that answers my question.
Yeah.
You could still go for like 3 base, like Ling Queen drops or like cross the map. Well, Queen's crossing the map on this map isn't so much a thing that you want to do, but there's still options. Doesn't look like he's gonna go for many or any of them. There's a Roach Warren going up. Very nice control by Drogo.
The slide. It looks like it's the default of the Oracle, but trust me, guys, you try that at home, you die. Also, more importantly, besides the slide of the Oracles, is that the Queens weren't in position. The Queen, singular, wasn't quite in position to try and help target fire. So nicely done.
10 workers is a lot more than I would have thought he would get from that poke onto a base with a spore. That's a lot to Drogo's credit, but like you said, the Queen also not shooting right away or being there on the edge, basically, of where the Oracles are coming from, in spite of having a lot of Overlord vision around that natural base. It's a little bit of a slip.
This feels like a fantastic start. Even going to find the drone building a 4th base to offset SortOf's timings, even the creep tumor, because why? The flip not. Drogo is going for a very clean build himself, right into all 6 gases, actually. +1 and charge on the way. You might see some faster storm. But with the start that he's had, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at least posture with the +1 in the charge, right? Look for an opportunity. And I think also when he sees that SortOf is going to be going for a less scary composition, Roach Hydra, not Roach Baneling, it might also encourage him to posture, like I was just saying. Double Hallucinated Phoenix, because you got to scout for that Spire.
Yeah, and Drogo with Oracles on both sides. I think he's going to have to drop the Stasis Ward on either side, because I don't think he can control both sides of Hallucinated Phoenixes. I mean, they're both spotted as well, both sides anyway. Here comes the first Oracle poke. At the same time, the other Oracle's not really going in. So Drogo not going to be able to accomplish too much with that.
Very good scouting. He also checked kind of the middle of the bases where Spires have been hidden very, very much. Like the only other place they could be hidden basically is a secret Overlord drop, in the bottom right. So I think he can be pretty confident that it's not Surprise Mutus. And there is that storm right in a storm like I was talking about. And actually no posturing whatsoever, at least not yet. He instead goes for storm and a 4th base. Real macro here.
Yeah, identifying that there's a lot of queen defense setup. There's going to be very little chance for SortOf to move out with anything short of something crazy like a Nidus. Those queens misclicked onto those rocks instead of the Oracle, sadly. And now these drones might be exposed if Drogo catches wind of it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well. Drogo wasn't quite paying attention. He had macro things to do. And he's now really set up here. 3 bases, fully saturated. All of his gateways are finishing up to a total of 10. I mean, his +2 attack is going to be quite fearsome, but SortOf is going to be maxed out, I think, way beforehand. His macro was definitely interrupted more, though. So I think maybe a different game, different scenario, different Oracle damage. He's already closer to 190 supply. He is still moving out, looking to hit Drogo's 4th base.
Yeah, very nice adepts here on the side of Drogo also to continue on the harassment. There is this army of SortOf that you were talking about. There's a lot of storm available, but a nice flank of these roaches are going to dive straight into those High Templars. A lot of Immortals left, or a couple of 3 Immortals left over. That's a lot, though. And the shield battery overcharge is going up. SortOf still with forces, but with this Zealot Warpin, he's going to recognize that he doesn't have the army to fight it.
Yeah, not quite enough knowledge, I think, of SortOf's positioning. Lost him a lot of those High Templars. Maybe they're supposed to be behind a few more units, but also waiting on a couple more production rounds. And there's Zealots really helping out. Proto on top of the War Prism will not be able to take it down. And even the Oracle's adding in little bit of damage. Drogo's not going to overstep, though. He's going to just pull back, replace those High Templars, and Chrono at his +2.
Yeah, 3 High Templars in production. We both checked the production tab. I heard your click to see if the High Templars were being replaced. Because it's so very important. I mean, that's the one advantage that SortOf took that could enable a follow-up push. But instead, Drogo might be a little bit too concerned. No, never mind. He has 4 High Templar now and is also getting an Archon on top of it. So Drogo looks pretty safe, like he's established this 4th comfortably now.
I like how you give me a lot of professional credit when it definitely wasn't my cat jumping up on my keyboard.
Oh, really?
Definitely not. Yeah, that Warp Prism is denied, but at least it's saved. I mean, maybe it'll try and warp in stuff and hit the natural later on. But there are some units. Oh, no. Oracles. Oracles checking out the army fight. Hydras are available, so they have to be careful. Still want to be casting the Revelations. You know what? Those Hydras aren't at all upgraded. This is very odd. They don't have range or speed.
And it's looking very difficult. Nice little run by from SortOf here, but I mean, he's working off of such a low economy. He's not even taking the gas, the Rich Vespin Geyser at that 4th base. So he is maxed and he's trying to make something happen with whatever he has. Storms are going to land on top of his army. He still has, Drogo has still 3, soon to be 4 storms available.
I think SortOf is going to be cracking this 4th base. And while he does open up a pathway into the natural, it's not even that large of a pathway. And yeah, he hasn't been depending on Lings at all. So he's still really committed to this push. No upgrades, no Hydra upgrades, as you're pointing out, still pretty low economy. I just don't see it working. I mean, it's an inferior army type that's not that much bigger than what Drogo has.
Yeah, but these double run-bys are kind of sexy. And on the other side, he will get repelled, yes. But here, the roaches are killing a lot of probes.
4. Yeah, they had trouble. with the overcharged shield batteries. I think Drogo realizing he doesn't really need it on the front lines. He used it to protect his probes.
Yeah, really good call from him actually doing that. Loses near nothing. Oh! Nice.
High Templars are a little too casual about that. We'll just lose 6 of them to a Corrosive Bile. SortOf is now adapting his composition. He's adding on a Baneling Nest and +1 melee, but it's going to be quite a while until he has +2 melee or some difficult hooks. And Drogo is going to feel more and more confident, maybe a couple cannons to help out against these run-bys, and he still doesn't feel comfortable on 4 bases. In fact, I would hope that he also scouts to make sure he's keeping tabs on what SortOf is truly doing.
Yeah, he checked. He has some attack at the fort, so he knows SortOf is on really bad economy right now, and he killed a few workers there also. The base is actually going down now, so Drogo definitely doesn't need to be doing this other than, like you said, for keeping tabs, but I mean, getting this base is just insult to injury at this point.
Pretty important base for SortOf, especially because he's moving into a more expensive, more sacrificial type of army with those Banelings, but he doesn't have them quite yet. Mostly still Roach Ravager up against an army that is specifically designed against it, including the possibility of Blink Stalkers, and a mothership is on the way. Why not? Drogo, I'm not sure there's a way that he throws this fight. Maybe too big of a concave from SortOf, but even then.
8 Immortals can basically kill 1,000,000 roaches, if not more, so this is looking pretty difficult here on the side of SortOf, and GG is going to be cold.
All right. A little bit more of a simple game right there. I think some of the simplicity had to do with the style SortOf chose to play. I mean, both of them just hardcore macro, right? But then Roach Hydra, he had one opportunity, jumping on top of those High Templars on the 4th for the first time, that made it look fearsome. And then from then on out, it was really about Drogo not getting overeager, and he didn't. He was very patient, so he takes the victory, makes the final fight look very easy, and ties up the series.
Yeah, definitely. So 2 times now Drogo has gained an advantage. This time around, SortOf not with a perfect defense follow-up, but rather an attack. And I'm scared a little bit that if Drogo starts playing defense and SortOf continues to be overly aggressive, it could be a little bit of a problem for SortOf. Maybe he's switching it up too much, is what I'm saying.
Maybe. The 10 drones going down certainly offset a lot of his plans. So it was just kudos to Drogo's control. We're going to be moving on to Everdream for game number 3. So a fairly different, a lot more direct, I would say. Not that it's much bigger, but just a lot more direct of an attack path. We do see, a lot of fights around the middle. I think what's most popular? Yeah, I really want Drogo to do that +1 attack that I was kind of talking about in that last game, at least to posture, to control. And if SortOf's going to play defensive, when you take that 4th base with the Rich Vespian on this map, kind of push yourself forward. I think it's really nice for the Protoss to do that. We'll see, Drogo.
On the side of SortOf, I would like to see kind of like a lot of what he's been doing on the previous maps, right? Like this map is so good for Roach, Ravager, Baneling aggression, to deny that 4th, to contest for the middle, like you were mentioning, is a lot of where the action happens on this map. Yeah. So I think it's a good map for the style that SortOf has been running, but I'm not sure if that's his thing now, or if it's, or if he was looking to surprise Drogo.
I'd love to see SortOf also bring back a couple of those Overlord drops, right? That would have been a really sick addition. And he always been a player to do that in the past. In the top right, he is the Red Zerg player, SortOf.
I'm playing for Rye. It is PtitDrogo.
I always found it amusing that everyone pronounces the last T in PtitDrogo, because he I think at one point he actually was trying to get people to say it more correct. Obviously, we can never do it totally correct because French is hard, but I feel like he just gave up.
Petit,
yeah.
How do you say it? PtitDrogo?
Petit. I don't think you just don't pronounce the T. Petit.
Le PtitDrogo?
Le PtitDrogo. Le.
Drogo. But it's more like Drogo than Drogo, right? It's not really Drogo anymore. Then. Is it like Drogo? PtitDrogo?
I think it's a little bit too much of a W. Maybe like a 5-year-old French kid.
All right.
I'm not sure. Taking years of second language classes in America doesn't really add up to very much. But anywho. I just, Drogo's gotten, he got a lot more relaxed, and I actually think it's really helped his play. You know, I think we all kind of remember Drogo as being a bit of a rager, you know, to be honest. And I think even he'll kind of joke about it, and he still does. Like he's still a passionate guy, all right, to put it nicely. But I think he does it a lot with more humor, a lot more like get out of his system and then just walk off and be okay with it. And
yeah,
I don't know, he's a lot better.
I find that for a lot of players, it's kind of a phase of like really kind of love-hate really intensely, right? Like the wanting to improve and to win, and it can be really frustrating. But I find most pros end up getting over that hurdle and kind of just stabilizing to a more to a healthier mindset, if you will. I think you need that to take a step back a lot of the time to break through. So I agree with you. I think Drogo is a very passionate individual, but I think he's been maturing as well in that process.
Yeah. Well, we all know that his Twitter has upgraded tenfold in the past year, basically, with all the memes. So it's got that much going for him. But it kind of reminds me back when like Nurchia was just a player you wouldn't really see anything about. And then he like kind of went through a phase where he joined like Red Bull, or was sponsored by Red Bull. And he started tweeting a lot more, and actually like, you know, being like kind of nice tweeting, but a little bit spicy, like just enough to really get people going. And I was like, oh yes, okay, this is actually really cool, really great for StarCraft, much as Drogo's memes are great for StarCraft. Let's take a look at the game here. Twilight Council did just finish up with the Robo. It does look very similar to the first game. Actually, I think it's going to be Resonating Glaives without the Dark Shrine this time.
All right, it could very well be the Archon drop again. It's one of the safer builds that Drogo has for a very long time really liked. So we saw it earlier in the series. It could be that that's just his safety zone, but no, it's going to be the Resonating Glaives. Yeah,
this is mostly what we see when we see the one probe out of each gas, and sort of might be paying that close attention as well. Also just a very popular build you have to deal with. But I think what is even more important, because this part is so popular, is, hey, is it Dark Shrine? Is it not Dark Shrine? Which, you know, the Overlord dies usually before it can really confirm that. I'm just taking a guess based off the amount of gas that has been mined, even another probe being taken off of gas. So for a second.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They sort of see the gases at the natural. That might be a little bit of a tell.
I think that he knows it's not going to have a Dark Shrine, just with the everything I just mentioned here, because I think you are paying that close of attention. Maybe if the build was still brand new, you're still kind of figuring it out, what means what. But I think he knows that he's not going to worry so much about building Spore Crawlers. And hey, that's a pretty big deal. I'm sure you can attest to it. Like having to waste a drone, 2 drones, 3 drones.
It's huge.
And 75 minerals, yeah.
Yeah, each spore. I mean, if you make 3 spores or like if you make 4 spores, it's like 7 drones or something, right? Or 8 drones. It's something, it's pretty huge. And now we have Resonating Glaives. He is still making spores, but also a spine. So he's kind of ready for this sort of for the adepts. The links are going to chase the shades, and the third is very well protected at this point.
Spore Crawler is only not in the main, so he's not anticipating anything being built there, and he's absolutely right about that. It's all out aggression with the adepts on the right side, and it's only adepts. So while they can transfer around, they can eventually get put into that Warp Prism. He does not have to worry about DTs or Archons, but he does certainly still have to worry about the adepts. They actually get into the naturals. The Lings were a little bit shy without the Queen support, without the Roach support, which is looking just to be a little bit late here. And the adepts are starting to rack up the kills.
Oh man, the spine not really directly in that mineral line, so the adepts are not actually in range to focus it and instead kill all the drones, right? If the spine is in the mineral line, the adepts basically focus it by default, and it absorbs a lot more damage. Instead, we have 14 drones already dead.
Oh, wow. And Drogo's once again adding on, 5 gateways. Okay, so even more than 8 gateways. Is he just going to, because he hasn't started charge, I mean, is this just going to literally be like Adept plus an Immortal plus a Warp Prism? I guess so, as the follow-up push.
Yeah, difficult to anticipate. That sort of can hold anything as a follow-up push. It's going to be so difficult. He lost 15 drones, some mining time. I mean, this would be a great start for him. All right, taking down the Warp Prism is something big, but he really can't afford further losses here.
Yeah, that was definitely a big mistake, but considering he already got a decent amount with the first wave of drones, it's like, okay, it's a start. It's a start for SortOf. But not only has he had to lose drones, he also hasn't been able to make them because he built the army to defend against them. That's what makes the adept stuff so complicated. Is there's never really like a perfect response, something that usually shuts it down completely. It happens sometimes, but not too often.
I personally like making 2 spines, but the pros are a little bit too proud for the 2 spines. They're like, no, it's bad. It's too expensive. I mean, I know it's pretty expensive, but it seems that way that the protos always find the space and the room, and that's what they're banking on. So maybe it's not so bad to add another spine. Instead, we have SortOf losing a lot of drones this time around, and the Adepts are going to push on through the side. This is a huge attack. Do you think he can hold?
I don't think so. It is a little bit interesting because it's not like a Mortal Sentry like we're used to. It's not Charge Lot Immortal like we're used to. It is the Adepts with just a few Immortals to really pack a punch. Lots of transfuses try and save the Spine Crawler at the very least, and they do, but now the Adepts are showing their mobility. They would leave all the Immortals, alone to be overpowered, but then the Adepts have got all these drones.
Yeah, the Adepts doing a fantastic job while the Immortals go back to focus fire the Spine. Good positioning here from SortOf, but it looks as if PtitDrogo might just have a little bit too much.
I think so. It's so difficult to split against this perfectly with the mobility of the Adepts. SortOf never got close to getting to Roach speed. GG, Drogo getting that follow-up that I think he wanted more so than in that first game. So kudos to him. He takes the lead 2-1. When we come back, we'll be getting into game 4. Welcome back. We're getting into Death Aura for the 4th map, potentially the last game. We got that first game after a failed Ling attack. So we were like, okay, yeah, big kudos to SortOf. But Drogo really starting to show why I think most of us guessed he would be taking the series.
He is an incredible player, Drogo is. And, I didn't mean it as a slight to him, more than I meant it as I really want to believe in SortOf, and I really think he's one of the hardest working individuals in the scene. He has been around for so long, and I love the processes that he uses as well. He is very, very methodical. If you guys are looking to learn build orders for Zerg and whatnot and be exact about things, SortOf is one of the best players to look at. So yeah, spawning in the top left-hand side of the map, the little dragon, PtitDrogo.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is SortOf of Cosmos Esports.
do you think, Jess, that you could be condemned by your name to some degree? Like, sort of sounds like you know, like sort of good, sort of like it's not well defined, right? Is what sort of is. So, do you think he should upgrade to definitely at some point?
I think that he should. I mean, on the other hand, when you name yourself something like genius, and then you're really not a genius, people just make fun of you all the time. So maybe he was literally like, well, I'll just pick something that's so in between. It's like so indifferent that no one could possibly make fun of me.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, we have Genius being pretty good. He named himself Genius and pulled it off. And then we have 3 different heroes, or like 5 heroes or something in StarCraft, right? If we count Brood War. So,
yeah,
I mean, the people who name themselves heroes tend out to be. So I feel like sort of should start renaming himself to most likely or definitely or something that's a little bit more of a statement on what he wants to do here.
See, I think Team Liquid, Team Liquid hero is a pretty good example of a hero, but do we really want to call the smiling assassin a hero? Is he not more like an anti-hero?
But the name is Hero.
I know, but I think of hero as in like not just someone who does like well, but someone who does good, right? Superman does good.
You think he didn't do good? He was wonderful. He's the smiling assassin. He's always smiling.
Yeah, but he also was assassinating you.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know, man.
If we focus on the negative aspects, yeah, I'll take the smile. We'll send around it.
All right.
We have an Adept being chrono boosted out as per usual, so nothing out of the ordinary in this game. Quick third for SortOf. It's gonna be a standard game for the game.
Yeah, very normal stuff. So I just want to add that Genius was genius for like literally 1 season, it felt like. I mean, and even then, I remember one of the genius things he did was go 2-base carrier against Dong Regu in the GSL finals, and I was like, he's just genius. Oh no, it absolutely failed. Just kidding. That's the type of disappointment you're setting yourself up for.
I see, that's fair, but at the same time, we're talking about a GSL finals. So if you make it to the GSL finals, I'm okay with you calling yourself a genius to begin with, right? Like that's
okay.
Probably helped more than it hurt.
It's a good bar. That's
a pretty good bar. GSL finals.
I just keep moving the goalpost, you know. I'm like, well, you know, he didn't win 5 GSLs, cats.
I thought you were talking about like my ladder opponents that named themselves genius. You know, I'm like, I see it. But the actual player genius, I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well then, nothing else really to add except that sort of was. I mean, he's getting a good scout. I mean, Death Aura, I think it becomes a more interesting map when it comes down to the 3rd bases, because that's also when we see the rocks broken down in the middle. And when the rocks are broken down in the middle, it actually becomes a shorter map. So I kind of heard pros talking about it's a short map, and I was like, wait, the speed zone's actually impacted that much. But oh, absolutely. When the rocks are broken down, 3rd to 3rd, SortOf's 3rd to Drogo's 3rd, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, once again, it looks like Drogo's gonna feel comfortable with this triple Oracle opening. It's kind of a standard opening that we saw maybe a few months ago more than we do now. But it's a type of opening that kind of is characteristic of someone like Drogo, that can be very methodical about things, that can be really moving on the map and checking every corner and you know, getting 10 drones here and there. In spite of spores, so I like it for him, but I want to see what SortOf brings to the table this time around, because last time he kind of just sat down and took it.
Well, I could start by not taking 10 drones with the damage, which he should not, maybe 5. Good control. Queen's once again a little late to the natural, but with the spore crawl in the main, Oracles can't find much more. Good scouting from SortOf with the Lings currently postured, looking for any surprising follow-ups, but it really is Drogo. Just fast third into all 3 of his tech structures, very much like Eternal Empire. It's SortOf that has a little bit of a change.
Yeah, let's see. There's a bunch of tech on the way as well. Forge, as well as a Twilight Council, as the lair for SortOf is finishing. So surely he'll transition into something himself. This 3rd Oracle is now poking in for the first time, and luckily for SortOf, I mean, he lost 10 or 4 less drones than last time. That's some. Never mind. Okay.
Don't speak so soon.
That's 10. Yeah, well, never mind. Lost exactly the same amount, actually, but a little bit later. So.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, Drogo committed to 1 less Oracle. Oh no, wait, where's the 3rd one?
The third one
chilling over
tried
the
to
left.
go to the third, but yeah, I couldn't do anything there.
Oh, sort of. No, don't do this. Don't. Duh, he's gonna drag himself down, man. Swarm host Nidus.
Oh, that's what it is. Indeed.
I assume so. Where's the Nidus one though?
To be. Yeah. I think he might just push out with roaches because he's getting the roaches and the roach speed, and then situate himself in a good position where he can Nidus, or maybe even break those rocks that you were talking about and walk the swarm host. But the oracles are gonna have something to say about that. So one extra queen in production with 5 already out. I have to imagine he's gonna do something with those.
You might be right. That would be that'd be very interesting. All right, there is the Nidus worm, which usually does come down more in sync, but the point is it's on the way. Sort of still has managed to done this unscouted. No, the Station Pit is finally seen by the oracles, going a little bit too far to the left.
Yeah,
and that is
kind of decent news, I think, Jess, for sort of that the oracles just exposed themselves like they did, and that they're trapped back there, because it gives free reign for sort of to move out on the map, and that's often the most difficult thing to do with roach swarm hosts. So I think the Nidus is to reinforce with the queens to make sure that he has the anti-air over there, but the first poke is going to be this unit. And wow, he's still going to break the rocks. I'm not sure that's necessary.
I'm actually looking at Drogo's setup and being a little worried about what his push could do to SortOf. I mean, the thing is that he still went for like all 6 of his gases. I really thought he was going to go for Storm. And he hasn't gone for Storm either, so I'm not sure if this is... Oh, we'll take some of the Locust away. He's going to defend against this first wave by being at home. Is he going to follow up? Is he going to try and push across the map? He's really
beautiful move by SortOf. Look at that! Lands the Locust on the high ground where they don't have to fight the Zealots. It's the best possible move. I mean, not good enough to do much, but I like it.
Yeah. There's the 4th base from Drogo at the very least, but not starting anything else. Blink, Storm, +2. He's got a Warp Prism prepared. It looks like he is just going to play some whack-a-mole with the Nidus worms for now, as he also has his oracles that can definitely help beam down Nidus worms when queens aren't available. The 3 queens over here also going to be able to spread some creep, and there's the attack that you were kind of hyping up, finally coming to fruition, or maybe not. Maybe a little too late. No, Roaches joining forward, and now the Warp Prisms on top of that 3rd.
Oh, not even a single Archon goes down, and there's 5 of them, so this is gonna get harder and harder for SortOf. A lot of these roaches falling, not attended to, as he was probably loading his Nidus back up. He loses a lot. Oh, and this is why! No!
Yeah, that was brutal. Brutal timing. I mean, I feel like that was already not a great start, because it was kind of like Swarm Host Queen and then the Roaches, and then they also had to pull back because Drogo had the perfect timing of the Warp Prism. He was waiting for an opportunity, plus he had a good enough army, because this is not the fastest Swarm Host ever. His army is actually pretty good to even take a couple of Locusts to the face, which is what happened. Oracle's finding another Nidus Worm. So far, Drogo is doing excellent against this style.
Yeah, he's doing amazing, taking map control as well, moving out on the map and contesting and making sure that these Locust waves are thrown out of position where SortOf does not want him. Now Drogo is going to continue to chase out, and he is going to be very successful in that endeavor. He is taking complete control of this game.
20 drones are going to go down in the main base. The Zealots are just too strong. The Sportful are not quite in position, and SortOf's also forced to retreat back, use a Locust Wave defensively, where Drogo can just run away and then return. And when he returns, he might have +2 available. Oh, actually, he tackles the Swarm Host. It's quite bold to tackle the Locust, but it works out all right. Even an Immortal finding the 4th base once again. Drogo is out for blood, but is he over-investing?
Yeah, I'm surprised there's no Roach Ravager behind those Locust Waves to try and capitalize on at least the buffer, right? As it is, they're really not contributing too much, and SortOf somehow is super far ahead in supply of Drogo. But I mean, from the traits we're looking at, it looks like everything's going Drogo's way.
Yeah, I mean, that is the effect of having Swarm Host Roach, though, right? Is that your supply almost always looks okay. It just is a very different story of whether the Locusts are available or whether the Protoss army is kind of at that stable point. I would say 150 is the stable point, which Drogo did dip below. He's got 4 bases. He's really pushed back the Nidus Worm, so the momentum never started for SortOf. So I still like Drogo's position, but SortOf has that composition that can absolutely make up for the lack of momentum, unless he loses all of his Roaches to this. This is, I don't think, ideal.
not at all. And I love the patience from Drogo not turning on those oracles until he basically assesses that I'm gonna turn on these oracles and I'm gonna chase you all the way, and that's gonna be worth it. And before, probably not. Hey, Locust, hello.
It took so long to do that.